My name is Eli Wa'il Khlifawi. I was born in Damascus, Syria. I live in Berlin since 2015 and I'm 31 years old. To me, it's all kinds of social activities. For example, going together for a walk with people from different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different nationalities, different languages, engage with social contact, basically, whether it's a dialogue, conversation, or an activity. So this is how I find Solidarity working at its best. Well, first of all, because I've been on the other side of the boat, so I came as a refugee and I now live and work in Berlin as a volunteer and project coordinator at an NGO in Berlin. And I understand the importance of volunteers, because if we want to integrate all of these different, I'd say, groups of people from different cultures, different backgrounds coming together in one city, the best way is through volunteers. Because then they will get the real sense of society, the real sense of solidarity, the real sense of support, and so they will be more open to learn and absorb the new culture they've been placed in, and then so they will integrate faster, and they will be a lot, way more successful than those who would be shunned or put in different cities, or cities for refugees, or centers only for refugees, which tend to create a society within a society. The last week of October 2015, I came with every other refugees. I used to live in Istanbul for 2 years, but then because of Turkey not issuing any work permits or residencies for Syrian people, so I decided to leave because I didn't want to live my life illegally. So I decided to we went to Izmir, tried to cross 3 times. The last time was successful. We got to a Greek island. We went to the mainland in Greece and then crossed into Macedonia, Macedonia into Serbia, Serbia into Croatia, Croatia into Slovenia, Slovenia into Austria, and then finally Germany. And yeah, actually, when I arrived into Germany, I arrived into Bavaria, near Munich. I was registered there, and then we were taken to a kind of sorting out center, where they decide which group goes which state, which city. So I was assigned to Brandenburg, Berlin, and I stayed there. I started volunteering exactly 1 year after I settled down in Berlin, because I wanted to help bridge this divide between the two communities that seemed to be growing extra problematic, I would say, and two sides not understanding each other on a cultural level, not on a language level, not on a legal level, but on a cultural level. I would give a very small example. For a Middle Eastern person, precisely Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Syria, and Iraq, the best way to get to know someone is through sitting together over a drink and talking about things and create this dialogue and connection with the other person. While in Europe, it is seen as a waste of time. They'd rather go into some social center or do some kind of activity that usually leads to a dialect, while in the Middle East it's completely the opposite. You have the dialect first and then you go for an activity. So this is one of the cultural differences that were creating some kind of a problem. Usually I get to the office by 9-10 a.m. and then we start with a team meeting, talking about the problems that we've been having the past week or the past day. Usually it's every day, but once a week is the official one. We talk about the current projects and what projects can we alter or create to help the refugees who reach the next level. So you have refugees who just arrived, they need some help with their papers and so on. Other refugees need help to find a place to live. Other refugees need help to make connections. Some of the people who already have their status and started studying German, they just need to blend in with the society. They need events to meet more people, to create friends, family circle, and so on. So these problems usually come up in the team meeting, and this is what we deal with every day. As well as I usually I run two projects. One of them is the Sprachcafé, where we have a big space that we turn into a kind of a cafe where you have tea and coffee, and German volunteers show up. Expats as well as refugees come in to practice German, speak about anything they want. We do it for 2.5 hours once a week. And there's another project that is still in the planning process. So that's one of my daily routines, to go over the plans and see what we can do for next year. That was a bit tricky because it's not easy to be a refugee from Syria and speak out in public, since, you know, the situation in Syria, and, you know, it's not easy to speak out. But I talked to my parents, I took their opinion, we discussed it, and they said it's fine. So once I knew that, then it was, you know, up to me to do it or not, and yeah. But it was very interesting because everybody started to come to our events, and most of my friends actually are now parts of this project or that project, or yeah. So it's very interesting. Actually, it had a positive effect, while I was thinking it might have negative effects. The gap of knowledge between the mainly European volunteers and then the refugees from the Middle East and the, I would say, kind of refugees from Eastern Europe is a very big gap. And it's actually shocking to me that there are very few projects that try to bridge this gap to promote understanding for this problem. So it was very shocking to me. It's something I'm planning to work on or find a solution for, to get those three groups together, because the volunteers in Europe, they have a different perspective and different ideas that usually do not correspond to the needs of refugees, especially from the Middle East, who lost their homes or friends or family, and other refugees who didn't lose much, but they just cannot live in their country anymore for various reasons and came here. So it's a very different needs, and they have to, we have to work on it to create some kind of understanding. So if you work with this group, these are the things that they need, and these are the expectations you can get from it. You can have, so you can get, you know, self-satisfaction, you know, that you're helping, doing something. It's different from group to group, so it's, yeah. The rapid development in the Western world, Central and Western Europe, compared to Eastern Europe, and then compared to the Middle East. So, for example, the differences between I would say, the communities in Syria, even within Syria as one country, it's immense. It's not equal. There's a big, there's big injustice when it comes to development, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to understanding of authorities. Is very different. And I think the problem is the lack of understanding that we have this, we take it for granted, but those people have none of this, and they dream of it. So not helping those to get it is causing this gap. And then the lack of interest also takes a big part in this, from both sides. It's equally the same from both sides. They have lack of interest. Of how did you get there? They don't care. They care that they have this. And the other people, like in Western Europe, they don't care because they think those people are lazy. They didn't work as hard as we did to get this. So it's just a big gap of misunderstanding and lack of interest. Every time I correct a misunderstanding, it makes me happy, and it makes me it makes me happy, and it makes me feel satisfied. So every time I correct a misunderstanding, because like the perception is very important. So for example, one of the biggest examples is the way we create the dialect. In Syria, we sit over coffee, tea, beer, whatever, and talk about it, and talk about things, and then create this connection, and then go for an activity, go to school, ask about schools, ask about... While in Europe, it's absolutely the opposite. You have the activity, you do it, and then you have a dialogue, and then you become friends. I became more open, less critical of my people, of other people from the Middle East, and of Europeans. Actually, I started understanding Europeans more. At the same time, it led me to understand the differences between our culture. Like, the point is, all Europeans ask refugees to integrate into their communities. And I think it's only fair to ask that of refugees. If you pitch in, volunteer, contact them on a personal level, get to know them, and that's how integration works. Otherwise, if they take an integration course, it's not going to work out. What you need to do is volunteer a little bit of your time, just get to know one refugee. If every person did that, then it would make big difference. Like it's unimaginable difference. Because I know some refugees who actually befriended some volunteers, and their lives just transformed. Like they were depressed and behind, and now they have rooms they rent in shared flats. They go to university, they're studying, they found a mini job to work and study. So it makes all the difference. I actually learned a lot, especially in the workshops that we've been having, and in the evening when we have a free exchange of ideas and stories and things that have been happening. I think the most thing I would take back with me is to not try to motivate people too hard. Just show them that it's easy rather than telling them, which is a very important way to motivate both refugees and volunteers. And the other thing is it made me feel more relaxed, because having all these things that I've been having since 2012 until now, the only way we deal with it as Syrians, we just joke about it and block it and never think about it again. In the past few days I've been working on them, and I feel better, I feel happier.